We got jumping stilts, power skips, air jumps, moon jumpers, bocking, power stilts, bouncy stilts, power skips, air trekkers, sky runners, acrobatic stilts, spring-loaded stilts, kangaroo shoes, running stilts, extreme stilts, pro jumps, jumping shoes, pogo shoes, fiberglass stilts, bionic boots, power strider, and spring stilts. And then my mate's mum always calls them boingy boingies.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Roe Show. This week we have Ben Brason, who is a former gymnast turned live acrobat performer with a unique skill set that many have not even heard of. He's a power stilt master who basically puts on huge metal springs onto his feet and tumbles all over the world in different shows. Ben has a Guinness World Record for 26 flips in a row with his power stilts. He has also performed at the Olympic opening ceremonies back in 2012 and even on Italy's Got Talent. We discuss the community of power stilt, and Ben gives us an insider perspective and all the stories of his amazing shows and discusses how to train and use power stilts in a safe way. If you are interested in learning about another brand new acrobatic community and potential future sport, this episode's for you. Okay guys, let's go. Hey Ben, thanks so much for coming on the show. How are you doing?
Hello, yeah, thanks for having me. It is a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, well, you do a lot of crazy cool stuff on your Instagram and everything. It's quite unique. How long have you been doing flips?
Well, flips wise. So I started gymnastics at age 7, and literally that was my best mate at the time. He said it'd be really cool to be able to do a backflip, and we went, yeah, that would be cool. So our mums took us to our local gymnastics club, which was Kings Lynn Gymnastics Club, a tiny town in England. And then, I just fell in love with the sport of gymnastics, and never looked back really. I'm so thankful to gymnastics because it's given me a living, a career, and it lets me go to some amazing places in the world performing with it now.
Well, how did you perform? Do you perform as shows, or what's your discipline?
So I was a tumbler. That was always my background. I did a little bit of sports acro as well in a men's four, but tumbling was my sort of real go-to skill. I went to Kings Lynn Gymnastics Club, then Wakefield Gymnastics Club, Leeds Gymnastics Club to just try and be the best that I possibly could. So tumbling was really where it was at for me. I just loved the speed, the thrill, the noise of the track is just awesome. And so from tumbling I then got into coaching as well. So I did a couple of years teaching men's artistic gymnastics, but from then I just fell in love with this performance world. In 2012 I did an audition to be in the London 2012 Olympics opening ceremony. So my first job was this insane, massive gig, to millions and millions of people around the world. And to be in that stadium was so electric. It just made me fall in love with performing. And I've never looked back since. I've been performing really professionally since 2012. So
that's awesome. For our audience who don't know, what did you do for the Olympics opening ceremonies?
So we did the opening ceremony, the closing ceremony, and the Paralympics closing ceremony. So the opening was first scene was an industrial revolution scene, and there was these giant chimneys that came out of the ground, and I got the role of being on top of one of these chimneys that came out of the ground. So I was then at the top of this stadium on the chimney. During what I think at the time was the biggest scene change of all time, and I got to watch it from a bird's eye view, which was amazing. And then in the sort of third part, I think it was, of the ceremony, we then did the power stilts, and we were these, there must have been about 12 of us. We were these punk rockers with giant punk heads, which sort of had mohicans and eye patches, I think some of them had. We was all sort of levered up, and we just had to do this dance routine. run on, run off, and then yeah, that was just amazing. We were so lucky with the weather that day. We had done some rehearsals and some of us had slipped over because of the rain, but we were so lucky on the day of the actual ceremony that everyone stayed on their feet and absolutely smashed it.
Cool. But so you rehearsed. So how did the rehearsal go? Like, were you there for like weeks practicing, or was it just kind of fly in, do the thing, fly back out?
No, we were there for I want to say a good 3 or 4 months. But the main thing we were training for was an act called Chinese bungee. So in the closing ceremony, so we started rehearsals first of all with the closing ceremony, doing this Chinese bungee. And Chinese bungee is you stand on sort of a solid metal structure. You have 2 bungee cords clipped to your harness on either side, and you literally jump off, fly forwards, do a front somersault underneath, pull on the bungee cords, and then land back on the structure. So we practiced that, and we had to get that all down. And then we added in 2 and then 3 people. So we created this Catherine wheel effect of us sort of flying around the structure. It was
it's almost like a high bar where you kind of jump in front, it swings you back, and you try to land back onto it.
Yeah, it is like standing on a gymnastics high bar with 2 bungee cords and jumping off and
trying to come back around and land.
Trying to come back and land back on your feet on it. Yeah.
Oh, how long did that take you to get that?
Oh God. Well, I think we all learned it pretty quick. But what is so scary is pulling this bungee cord and flying towards a solid metal bar. That was just the most insane thing. But yeah, again, in the closing ceremony, everybody smashed it, and we're so proud to do that. And then the Paralympics closing ceremony, performing with Coldplay and Rihanna, we did an act called Air Ram. Now, an air ram is what a lot of stunt performers use to, I think they sort of pull back and they can jump really high off it, because an air ram is basically an electronic springboard, and you put 1 foot on it and it will just fly you up. So we were flying off this springboard.
Damien did a promo video with one of them.
Oh, nice. I don't know if I've seen it.
Yeah, so I saw it there, and he was playing with it and stuff like that. It was cool.
Yeah, it was scary though as well. This again, solid metal thing that can just fly you. It was
you got to play that. How far do you go, or could you go?
So we were on basically the back of a lorry that was shaped like a giant grasshopper, and it would fling us off the lorry, and we would then land in this, but I think it was meant to be a spider's net, all in this theme, and we were all dressed as bugs at this time. But yeah, we would fly through the air, have to sort of do a spin or throw some confetti, I think it was, and then slide down this, big net, which was, it was so fun.
Like a big giant, like trapeze net that's kind of hanging?
Yeah, but kind of vertical.
Yeah.
And then, slide down it.
That is really cool. So that was the start of your whole thing?
Yeah, I was just like, I love performing. This is where I want to be, and this is what I want to be doing. Yeah.
What do you like about performing the most? What is it? Is it when you're done and everyone cheers? Is it before that anxiety of, can I do it? What's going through your head?
Yeah, I don't know really. I mean, I love it all. I love the creativity side of it. Coming up with an act, or training with a group of performers to create something truly spectacular. But I mean, the adrenaline when you're on stage, I feel like you just have more power when you're on stage, because you've just got this adrenaline going through you. And yeah, like you say, at the end of it, getting a round of applause is always an amazing feeling.
So it's icing on the cake kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
After a hard teamwork effort. So it's interesting you say it's that team dynamic that you like.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to mention my team quickly, which is Spring Loaded UK. We just created, I built it with me and my dad over the last few years. We built our own tramp wall that we can take anywhere and set up anywhere. So I love, especially with tramp wall, the team dynamic that we have on the trampoline and the wall, and working together to create an amazing show.
That's cool. We interviewed Boris Verkovsky from Cirque du Soleil. He said the exact same thing. He's like the head director guy there, and he's like, yeah, it's that team, it's that coordination, it's everyone kind of coming together, all the legs of the centipede moving as one, stuff like that. And that's what he likes about it. So it's cool. You guys kind of think along the similar lines,
Yeah. Well, I think we all do. I mean, what's strange about sort of acrobatics and gymnastics is you're performing as an individual, but I've always experienced it going to freestyle gyms or any gymnastics club. Everybody gets behind everybody else and motivates everybody to achieve more, and it's just that sort of platform that everybody can build on. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's that community.
Yeah.
Because when I started gymnastics, I love my friends. My friends were there. It wasn't really about gymnastics. It was about the friends and just what that atmosphere was. You go in, you feel like you walked into your home rather than, the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But you specialize in power stilts?
Yeah, power stilts. Oh, yeah. So interesting. I mean, that's something I wanted to discuss. So you call them power stilts?
What do you call them?
Well, I have actually, because what frustrates me so much is everybody calls them different names. Like, I feel like the whole power stilt community, we've never gone, this is what they're called.
Well, I heard razors.
So,
razors?
I have done a list of all the different names that I could come up with. So we're starting with, we got jumping stilts, power skips, air jumps, moon jumpers, bocking, power stilts, bouncy stilts, power skips, air trekkers, sky runners, acrobatic stilts, spring-loaded stilts, kangaroo shoes, running stilts, extreme stilts, pro jumps, jumping shoes, pogo shoes, fiberglass stilts, bionic boots, power strider, and spring stilts. And then my mate's mum always calls them oingy boingies.
Yeah. I like the last one. That's my favorite.
Yeah, no,
that's the marketing ring to it. You get some kids kind of playing with them. All of a sudden,
yeah, I mean, there's some good ones in there. But yeah, I think power stilts is such a good one, and that really describes what it is. It's like power track, but on some stilts, and you can sort of power tumble anywhere.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, so what is it? How did it become? Like, do you know when it started, or when did you at least start with it?
So I started back when I was still at Kings Lynn Gymnastics Club, and I must have been about 16. And a guy who previously was a gymnast there, who was then working in the entertainment industry, who is now an amazing stuntman, David Grant. And yeah, so he came in with a pair of these power stilts, and he just put them on, went over to a spot somewhere and just started doing so many flips on these stilts. And so I got chatting to him, and he said, Ben, you need to get yourself a pair of these. He said, I was just standing outside a casino one night, just doing so many backflips. This is what I was employed to do, just making tons of money on these. So I was just like, as a 16-year-old boy going, whoa, this is my mind blown that you can even do something like that for a living. So my 17th birthday, I asked my mum and dad for a pair of power stilts, and they got me them. And yeah, I think I had some friends around that day, and we all sort of had a go. But I think the great thing about power stilts is you can be up and running, walking and running within half an hour.
Is it hard to learn how to walk and run?
Nah, I think the walking and running is definitely the easiest. The problem is you can't stand still, so you've got to be constantly moving.
Oh yeah, you're tipping.
Yeah, because I mean the point of the hoof of the stilt is so small, so yeah, you've got to be constantly sort of going side by side. But we've had when I've been on tour doing the Pirates Adventure shows, we had the tech crew all learning the stilt, so they would all at least be able to walk and run. But jumping, on the other hand, that takes some practice, because I remember that, I think it was that same day, on that birthday, being like, yes, I finally got this. I'm walking, I'm running. And then I tried one jump, a tuck jump, fell into the fence, fell down. And, I was just like, this
why?
is going to be hard enough.
I understand why.
I think it's just keeping the balance whilst jumping.
It's a long lever.
Yeah, and also having so much weight on your feet. is a different game.
How
But
much?
now they're just like an add-on to my own feet. I'm so comfortable on them.
So you get used to it, but how much do they actually weigh? Like, what is the actual weight roughly?
I know companies are always making them lighter and lighter, but I want to say mine are probably about, I'd say maybe 6 kgs per
Wow.
stilt.
I thought you were gonna say pounds, but no, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like 15 pounds right there.
Yeah, but I mean they're amazing. I just So from that's where I learned, in my back garden at my mum and dad's house, and I learned flips for the first time by getting some sofa cushions, tying them around my body with some string, and then just going for it. And I remember my mum going, she just turned around and she was like, just let me know when you've done it. Let me know. And of course you fall, on the first time. But that's how you learn.
But okay, so you're trying to do your front flip now. Okay, so how long did it take you to get your front flip?
I would say I still managed it within like one session or one day. I mean, I committed that day. I was like, this front flip is happening today, no matter what. With the back somersaults, I remember I got my friend, who was also a gymnastics coach, to come round and sort of just try and spot me for it, which really worked, or at least it made me feel more comfortable. I don't think he could reach me anyway. But yeah, it was just nice to have someone around to help me over the first few flips.
Why not go into like a traditional gym or something? They got a lot of coaches.
Yeah, and I love when I can. It's finding the right gymnastics clubs that will first of all let you in with these power stilts, and allow you to just be free and do the movements on them. I think a lot of the time it depends on the gymnastics club, and if their only space where you could train that would be on a sprung floor, for example, they don't want you damaging the floor, which is completely understandable. But so I mean, I do love it when I get into a gym, but also a lot of the time I want more space than can be offered, because there's always gymnastics equipment in the way.
Right. So it's a little bit of both. You want that extra help, but at the end of the day, it's actually easier almost if you got a bit more space to kind of play with it on your own. Get some mats out there. Get a buddy to.
Exactly.
You're not landing in your head.
Yeah, and just I mean, the first few somersaults were so scary, but we got there.
What would you do? So what's the hardest part of it? Is it the takeoff into the flip, or is it the landing?
Interesting. I think getting the right jump. I mean, the same as you probably understand with trampolinists, prep jumping before they go into whatever somersault they're doing. It's getting that right jump before you go in. And even still, sometimes I'm on stage performing and I will just do a series of jumps ready for my tumble, and the jumps will, just straight jumps. They won't happen. So, start again. And, it's, finding that right takeoff. And then landing just on the tiny little hooves was so strange at first. I mean, it's like having a longer leg. So just a really strange feeling at first. But now, like I say, it is just an extended part of my leg that I know how to use. Which is
that's interesting. So would you, if I was doing that, I've never actually tried them. So you're going to get me on these one day. But, and we have a whole team in the UK that's definitely going to want to do it.
Oh, nice.
If I was going to do a flip, I'd be thinking about taking off one foot then the other, flipping and then landing one foot in the other, and dispersing that impulse, the landing, over time. Is that what you think? Does that work?
So definitely two-footed. That's because I mean that's how you get the most bounce out of them. I've got stilts here, so I can talk you through a little bit. I know for the listener they can't see, but we can at least describe through this. So the back of the stilt is this carbon fiber rod, which is similar to tumble tracks. And then what you're trying to do is compress the rod enough to give you the spring back and shoot you up. So taking off on one foot, I mean, I can bend it when I'm hopping on one leg, but can't bend this spring enough to sort of give me that power. But saying that, it has been done. One of my amazing performance buddies, Steve Bouncy Bruce, has managed to cork on one. So taking off on one foot and doing a cork on on the stilts, which is incredible.
Really? That is cool. That is cool. So you got to be really strong to use this stuff. You can't just, you know.
I think, yeah, strong in your core. So when you are jumping, you can keep the jumps going where you want. But yeah, so I mean, if anyone out there is wanting to purchase some, so they work on a weight type basis. So so you're supposed to add on 10 kg to whatever you weigh. So I weigh 70, but I've added on, I think these ones are 90 kg weight, because I know now how to bounce and get that spring to bend. I can sort of put in more effort, and because I've got the higher weight, it'll make me jump higher.
Oh, so it's kind of like a bow and arrow for kids, and for small people, it's
that's
looser.
Great way to describe it.
Yeah, and then as you get into the professional stuff, and you know how to use the bow, and you know the aim. You're not gonna just put someone in a powerhouse bow and arrow; they're gonna start killing people. But then you learn how to use it, and then all of a sudden, it's better to then get a tougher weight, like what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
That makes a lot of sense. And what skills have people done? So you got one cork off one foot. Has anyone connected any corks? Has anyone done a double flip? What's can be?
So, yeah, I mean, this is such an interesting topic, because I know we haven't even brushed the surface yet of what can be done. And I would love, I mean, some of your guys who would just throw in like kaboom triples on trampoline like it's nothing. I'd love to get them on. And, so I've got about 8 pairs, and I'm going to start workshops. So really want to get as many people involved in the sport as possible. But I was chatting with my friend, Dan Lanigan, who is an amazing gymnastics coach, and he's got the stilts as well. I've done a few jobs with him on them, and we were like, what could be done on these? And I would love to say that a transition with a double somersault tumble could be done. Now, people have done doubles before, but it still would only be in a gym environment. I don't think I've ever seen a double outside. I would love to spend some time really working on them. What I've been doing at the minute is, during my tumbles, I've been sort of prepping that transition, in the middle. So a series of whips, and then into a high somersault, ready for that sort of prep, and then back into the whips, and really just tumbling properly on them.
And just like actually thinking of them like as part of your legs.
Yeah, and thinking of them not as power stilts, but if I was on a tumble track, how would I use these? And that's what I've really been recently in training. I try to do. I train at like a local running track. That's where I find it's the best, because you've got the rubber hoofs reacting with the rubber of the running track, so it kind of feels like it keeps you really stable, and there's no slipping.
I was gonna say, like, does it slip? It's all rubber, right? So is there any surface area you can't jump on with these?
Yeah, I mean, doing so many different jobs, it's always a stage that's made out of something different. Working on a kind of a shiny surface, if there's even a little bit of moisture on there, it just slips so quick.
Really?
But I think, over the years, I've fallen a few times, but most surfaces seem to work okay. I have somersaulted in a sports hall once and fully broke their floor, like went through and snapped the wood of their squash court. And I did not.
I was gonna say, how much pressure is coming down with that? Is it just your body weight plus the extra 15 pounds roughly? Is that, or is there something more to it?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I, on my risk assessment, say that there is a 1 ton of force for the stilts, but I would love to get on a proper, I don't know what you even call them, the sort of plates, and just try and jump as hard as I can and really see how much that is, because it must be a lot of pressure.
Well, you think, like, in the bottom of a trampoline, it's something like 6 times your gravitational weight.
Wow,
basically.
yeah.
So I'm assuming that because yours is tighter than ours, so ours is more dispersed over time. Yours, bang, bang, bang. That's got to be hard on the spine, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people do suffer with their back sometimes from that impact that it causes. But if you keep tight in your core, it works.
And are you always like leaning forward, going with it, or do you have to be straight up and down?
Again, it depends. Same as doing somersaults on different surfaces. You can keep it, on the trampoline and keep it in the spot if you want, or change the angle of your body and move the somersaults. What I've really been focusing on recently, because I got the world record for the most amount of continuous backflips, but that ended up taking over 100 meters in distance, so a full side of a running track. So what I've really been prepping recently to even increase that world record even more is to just do tuck back somersaults and just really keep them on the spot. I think that's going to be the way.
What if you go around in a circle and find a big track and just keep going around?
That would be great. That would be so good.
Is it hard to stay in the same spot? Because like normally in acrobatics, we say the 1% rule, meaning you got to be off balance to create a rotation plus force. So are you on balance? Like, is it able to do this gainer sort of motion, or is it just lean back?
Yeah, I mean, there is, difficult question, I think, because I think a lot of people do just want to create that momentum and go backwards. But for a single somersault, even a lot of people will still take it.
You do it on a trampoline. Why can't you do it on stilts? It's just an extended leg. The mechanics are the same. It just means you need a little bit more of everything. Yeah,
definitely. And I think there's no reason. I think everybody trains it to move, but if you just train it to keep on the spot, then you're going to be doing something right long term.
And could you do like a routine, like think like a trampoline or a state level routine, branny, backflip, tuck jump? Could you do that?
That's something that's never been. I think you definitely don't get as much height as a trampoline.
No. But even the little kids, they only go like 5 feet high anyway. How high do you go? Like, what's your max?
I've never measured my max, but I would definitely say I can jump another adult person on the jumping stilts. So
with
that's
flip or flip.
Without a flip, just a nice high jump. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty high, man.
But that must be easily 7 foot.
Yeah.
I think the world record for jumping is 9 feet. 9 feet something.
And that's like a super tight one, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess their springs must have been. Yeah.
We're just going to get tighter, and for heavier people, is it better to be heavy or be the lighter one with the lighter spring?
I think it's better to be the lighter one, but have enough power to bend that spring to give you the jump.
Yeah. Okay. So it's all about power conditioning. Do you do squats and like real gymnastics conditioning and all that, like weightlifting and stuff, or?
Yeah. I think conditioning wise, I just always have kept in the same conditioning pattern as I was when I was a gymnast. And I mean, some days I can work a job on the power stilts and the next day my legs be ruined. So definitely wouldn't be leg day at the gym that day. But it certainly takes a lot. And you see, gymnasts have got such amazing fit bodies. It's exactly the same thing to keeping it, and also, like I say, with the core tightness to keep you stable when tumbling.
So it doesn't take like extra effort. It's not like you have to go on a special program to start doing power stilts.
No. But I think the biggest thing when starting is having that extra weight on. It's like having ankle weights on, but probably, I don't know, five ankle weights or however.
We tried that once into a pit. It was fun, just kind of playing with it.
Oh, nice.
And it was, again, a lot of coaches would say it's dangerous, but in the right conditions, you can make it work,
Yeah.
And the kids would put on those little ankle weights and we'd jump and they'd feel the difference because they all of a sudden, in trampoline, we want them to kick with their toes because we have the time. We want them long levers. So if I just get their brain to think about ankle weights, like, just put a little light ankle, like 2 pounds, like nothing crazy, but it makes them think about it. All of a sudden, we start seeing them kick naturally a little bit more, just because we start sending that signal. So it's kind of the same sort of thing.
Yeah, and then what was it like when you removed the weights?
Well, then all of a sudden, these kids are going 1.5. We fluffed up the pit and said, okay, guys, I know it's going to happen. So we extra fluffed, and the kids love fluffing the pit anyway, right? So, and then they just winged it in, and we just kind of stood by making sure no one went crazy, But you can definitely feel the difference, and that's why most coaches will tell you, don't jump with weights. Where it's like, well, just jump with the right weights or the right way with the right weights, and then you'll go.
And be safe afterwards. That's
or during, more before. You don't want to be safe after you've got hurt. That defeats the purpose a little bit. But no, that's cool. So, okay, so what's like your favorite combo? Like I've seen your stuff, you're doing back fulls, you're doing brand, you're doing backflip, front flip. Like what's your favorite combo that you could remember?
I always love starting my tumble with a front somersault into a Barani and then into the whips. I find that just somehow gives me such momentum, such power. And then, yeah, to sort of, so what would be tuck front, Barani, 4 whips into a full twist, even even double twist has been starting to get there. So yeah, it's going to be flying. And I can't wait to put a double twist on a stage and actually perform it. It's going to be
That
fun.
is cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
Now, when you're connecting, are you like bending your legs and pushing like you're doing squats, or is it just locked leg, or just stiff leg but not too much movement, or what are you doing with your
Yeah,
legs?
not at all. Not bending at all, because exactly the same as what happens on the trampoline. You bend your legs on the trampoline bed, and that's going to stop the bounce.
Well, we do
But
bend. So when we land, we bend a little bit. It's not much, but there's
yeah,
there's definitely a little flexion. So do you have a little bit like trampoline where
that's
you
fine.
a little?
Yeah, it's exactly the same way as tumbling. So when I'm hitting the floor with the spring, then I'm keeping my legs as tight as I can to make that spring bend. Yeah, and put the power in to get the power out.
Okay. Okay. So you're locked in and you're just going with the momentum.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, going back to the world record, the momentum that created when I got to probably about half. I mean, I did 26 in total backflips, and by 14, the momentum that it was creating was insane. The height of the somersaults, the length of the somersaults, insane. Absolutely flying.
Would you be able to slow it down? Like, do you have control over the tempo, or you're just hanging on for the ride?
Yeah, I think for that bit, I was definitely hanging on for the ride. I was so dizzy as well that I was just hoping that it would work every somersault.
I
And
know
so,
anyone that's ever done like a whole bunch of them knows
yeah,
after 15, you're now it's okay, just muscle memory, muscle memory, muscle
yeah,
memory.
absolutely.
That is cool. And so you want to do the double twist? Could you do like a front flip with 2.5 twists?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'd love to try Rudy on there. That'd be, um, yeah. What have I done so far? I've done the front full, but yeah, I want to go 1.5 for Rudy. But yeah, I don't think anyone's done 2.5.
Has anyone done Rudy?
Yeah, I've seen some Rudies. I've seen some Rudies into a somersault afterwards as well.
That's cool. So it's really like power tumbling.
Yeah, definitely.
Rope stilt tumbling.
Yeah, and I still think that we have not even touched the surface yet with what can be done with these amazing bouncy shoes.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like what? Because pogo now is an extreme sport. And,
Yeah. Oh.
and it's sick. And we already talked to those guys, and we're already working with them. And they're like they're heavy duty pogos, not the little kid ones. They're just dee, 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 right?
I've got one. I've got a V4 pogo, and I've got so much respect for anyone that can backflip on it. I thought, yeah, I'll be able to do that because I've got the stilts. But what I'd never really thought about in my head was, unlike the stilts, I'm not strapped in. So I've done a few back somersaults on a pogo, but as I rotate over, my feet come off the pegs, and I just can't keep the feet on the pegs to land it back on the pogo stick. So yeah, major respect for anyone that can backflip on a pogo stick. I think I'm going to revisit it, but I'm probably going to cheat and create some stilt straps and just strap my feet in.
Well, that's the thing, and you never really think about that until you're in the air. I bet probably in the time you don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
And that's how you figure it out.
But yeah, my pogo stick is definitely just gathering dust in my shed at the minute.
Okay, well, you got to get back on that thing because these guys. So this is where it comes all full circles. That these guys now go to like skate parks and industrial zones that have all this up and down parkour stuff. You could totally do that with stilts, like wall runs and stuff like that. Anything a human can do, you can do it, but more power.
Yeah, and I'd love training in a skate park as well. There's been a few in Kings Lynn, and there was one in Bradford. What's great is you can also stand on the top of a ramp and jump off it, and get the spring from the height of the ramp, which is nice.
Oh, as long as you don't land too close to where you took off, and you're launching forward. Oh man, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like the kids in the trampoline world call it tower bounce. So you call it like what do you call that? Do you even have a term for that?
For
For dropping in off of a lip, like just dropping into a bowl like a
no,
skate.
I don't have a name for that, but I like tower bounce. That sounds
Tower
cool.
bounce, yeah, drop in, tower bounce, yeah. You can call it whatever you want, but now the skaters are there while you're doing this?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. There's so many. I mean, it's good. I don't, it's nice to be there and be around all the other extreme sports because it's what an amazing environment. And yeah, often they have a go, and I try and have a go on whatever they've got as well. But I mean, the kids these days at skate parks are throwing some amazing tricks, like just on their scooters, and it is brilliant the level that everyone's getting to in this sort of freestyle teaching yourself world that's being created. Yeah.
It's a very interesting world, and obviously, we got some critics on the traditional side about that. But at the end of the day, what we keep telling these guys is, hey, look at the kids, what they're doing. You may not like it, but I rather would see progress and see this, because if you look at the long term, you realize that means now actual independent learning is being taught, where in traditional school systems it really never was.
Yeah.
So these kids have basically actually fixed your educational system in some roundabout sort of way, or at least helped it in a way that hasn't really been addressed. And there's lots of research, that backs this up. And they said, you know what? We're doing it ourselves. I like your little tests and your little quizzes and true and false. But at the end of the day, I don't know that my feet are going to come off that pogo until I go and do it. And
Yeah, exactly.
they've jumped to the part where it isn't written down on some textbook. And I think that takes a whole nother level of intellect, really, to even get there, because most people wake up and tell me the answers. These kids are saying, I will figure it out.
Yeah, and I think yeah, this world that's been created is amazing, and we're seeing more and more people getting involved in movement just in general across the board, and that is brilliant. But there's also those people that want to be told, and they need to have that coach pushing them, and also learn it in sort of a safer sort of way and make them feel comfortable. So, I mean, but yeah, both ends of the spectrum are just amazing. Everything that's being created.
Yeah, I agree. Coming from the traditional side, I wouldn't be able to do what I do now and jumping off cranes and this, that, and the other. We're going to wind tunnels and not completely wreck myself if I didn't have that base. And that's what we're trying to tell these kids. So but I think naturally the base is basically going online now. Instead of having to go to a certified place with certified people, whatever that means, now all of a sudden it's just through Wikipedia, through Google, YouTube, podcasts. Right? There's more information in these kind of podcasts than, to be honest, I've listened to so many podcasts since we launched, and I've learned more than anything I learned in high school, just because I heard it from people, like having discussions just like this, where I'm actually learning. It's not like I already know all this. I'm actually learning here. And that's
I love podcasts at the minute. There's such a good, it's almost like people are just discovering podcasts. I discovered podcasts must have been probably only just over a year ago, really. And I just, listen to them all the time. Really, what a great source of media.
Well, yeah, I used to just listen to lectures on YouTube and stuff, and the lectures are good, but they kind of all sound the same after a while, right? And there's tons of stuff on biology and psychology, and every day I have my little class and everything, and I start the day with more information and end the day with more information. But with the podcast, I feel like the difference is I feel the experience of the professor, we'll call it. So I feel like I understand your experience more as you're describing it to me, rather than just telling me the facts afterwards. And I think that's where podcasts really can do that face to face.
Yeah, I mean, it's the massive conversation, and that's the best way to learn.
That's what people like, and it's funny because social media first started off and everyone said, oh, it's a mass communication sort of thing, right? But then all of a sudden podcasts come in, and now we're looking for longer form media, and you realize really quickly, oh man, those 10 words I put into that sloppy sentence after, whatever, I didn't even think about what the guy actually said, doesn't actually capture the information I was trying to put into that comment. And now all you get is a little bantering back and forth with no real information, but just lots of opinions. But podcasts allow you to actually state your thesis in some sense and be able to reflect on it and have different opinions after you've actually told the story. not just a little piece.
Yeah, amazing.
It really is. It really is.
And I'm excited to listen to these episodes as well and learn more about other sports. So you said you had a wakeboarder on,
We've had
a
wakeboarding,
trampoline ball,
sky surfing, trampoline. Obviously, we have a ski jumper who talks about how like when he gets off, Casey, man, he's a really good guy, and he takes off and he actually lifts up. Like you think you just kind of throw it, but he's actually riding the air, and he's explaining it to me on the podcast. And I was like, wow, that is so cool. Things you just don't think about until you ask the questions.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but there's a lot of great stuff out there. So I'm hoping that the kids will listen, you know, and the kids don't really, they don't like the long form stuff. So what we do is we cut this up in little pieces and we send it to them through subscribing to Facebook and Instagram so that they get little snippets of it, but they still don't really want to sit down and just hear an entire debate unless it's something really eye-catching. But you know, they're still on that short stuff. So I don't know if that will change. Do you think it'll change, or they'll always kind of be younger kids, shorter message, older adults, longer message?
I don't know. I think it's a strange way in which it's going with, you know, the attention span, obviously, you know, is getting smaller and smaller. And on, you know, Instagram, you can have videos, up to a minute before you have to go on the IGTV.
Yeah.
But now, you know, IGTV has been created and YouTube videos are getting longer, and I think people have just discovered this new world and sort of are more hungry for longer forms of media now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's actually a sign of good people wanting education. You know, there's always a debate, like, do people actually want education, or is it just a means to an end so they get just a salary position? But with all the information out there, like all the stuff I'm listening to, I'm not going to make any money at that.
Yeah.
I'm listening to Joe Rogan. I'm not going to make money on what I learned from Joe Rogan. It's an interesting debate and discussion, but it's almost information that isn't just being utilitarian. It's just general fun to hear. And I think that's a sign that humans are moving into that sort of world, or they've always wanted to, but the technology wasn't there, one or the other. But I think it's a good move forward.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, okay, back to the whole stilt stuff.
Yeah.
If you could go and do a video anywhere with your power stilts,
interesting.
Where would you go?
Well, what is amazing is, you know, I try and do that anyway on my adventures. So we've got lots of videos that's out in Oman. We filmed a video out in New York. We were doing backflips on these stilts, me and Bruce, in Times Square. And so we're already trying to do that. But I mean, I would love a sort of YouTube collection playlist of my videos, which are jump and then a name of a place, and just literally jump around the world. Here's a video of this place showing the amazing, you know, scenery, and do some cool tricks in there, flipping over lots of stuff.
All right, where's episode number 1 then? What city, what town, what country?
Interesting. Where is episode number 1? Oh God.
So many good places.
So many good places, yeah. And I'm so lucky that I get to travel with my job anyway. But I've always wanted to venture over to like Australia or New Zealand. So potentially one of them would be good.
There, can you swim with them? Like, could you theoretically jump off like a boat with them on and swim with dolphins with your stilts on?
I feel like it would be more a case of sinking to the bottom with.
Yeah, I guess so. You have to have some pretty serious upper body strength.
Yeah, wouldn't you, to keep afloat?
What about Rome? What if you went to like the Colosseum?
We did a tumbling job out in Rome. So unfortunately, I didn't have the stilts, but we got to see the Colosseum. We was on Italy's Got Talent. Doing an air track show. Yeah.
How'd that go?
Which is fun, but so amazing to see Rome and eat all the amazing food. I just love whenever I go to a country just to experience as much as I possibly can. Yeah.
How was the show? How did you get on the show? Give us a little insider perspective on all that.
Yes, well, so that was with my performance partner, Dan Lanigan at the time, and Steve Gilmore. And we had got contacted by an agency. I can't even remember the name of the agency now. and they said, "Do you want to come and do a tumbling act for Italian TV?" And we thought, "Yeah, this will be great." And then we got there, and it was Italy's Got Talent, which kind of not what we signed up for, but still amazing to have such fun anyway, and get paid for it was even better.
That is really awesome, man. That is so cool. And so what other kind of acts were there that was like eye-catching that you never thought about?
Although we didn't get to see any of the acts, but we kind of worked out that it was Italy's Got Talent because the backstage area was full up of so many weird and wonderful things. You had roller skating duos, ventriloquists, magicians. And I remember just turning to my mate and being like, doesn't it feels like we're on a Got Talent show? And so we asked, and we were. It was.
You didn't even know.
We didn't even know. It's so strange. Yeah.
That's why. How did you accidentally get on set?
That was just through the agency who would.
Man, that's funny. That is really, really cool. How did you guys do?
We got through to the first round, and then I never heard anything since. So.
Oh, that's what happened to us. I guess we were not the only ones.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I have so many amazing adventures. It'd be nice to chat about some of them, really.
Yeah.
So
what's
that was such a strange one. We had last year out in China in a place called, or just below Nanjing, we did a car launch show for Chevrolet. And I think for performing for so many years, you do get used to being on stage and you don't have as much adrenaline. But we did this show and we had rehearsed it all. There was probably about 8 stilters. And we had our act down, everybody was smashing it. And then a couple of hours before the show, we had the biggest thunderstorm ever. And it just rained, torrential rain. And so we went outside and we had to test to see whether our stilts would still grip to the floor. And they did, which was fine. So we went backstage and it was, waited until the show. I think the show got a little bit delayed because of the weather. But what we didn't take into account in our own minds was it was still raining. So the water on the ground at this, I think it was maybe like an airfield or a testing place for the cars so they can go as quick as they want. But the ground was just filling up, and it must have been a couple of inches deep with water when we were then performing this show, which the footage looks amazing because we're splashing with the somersaults and the lighting looks so good. But I remember just the adrenaline being so insane because we had no idea what was about to happen, whether anyone would stay on their feet, and everybody stayed on their feet. I managed to smash out all the tumbles. And it just went really well. And the adrenaline from that was out of this world. Yeah.
That is really awesome, man. That is cool. Perseverance, right?
And I think that's what I'm always searching for with shows. It's the next show, the bigger, putting in the bigger move, getting as much adrenaline out of shows as I possibly can. I mean, that's the whole reason for building the tramp wall. The tramp wall fills me with adrenaline. And anyone who's not tried tramp wall, I would encourage to definitely try it. I think we struggle a little bit in England because we don't have many tramp walls, and if we do at a trampoline park have a wall, it's often with a rubbish trampoline, so it makes it so much harder.
It's like they did well, and then trampoline, the wall never really kept going. It's stayed a niche sort of thing.
I've been to trampoline parks before where they I just bounce to the top and land on the wall, and they like, get down from there. What are you doing up there? And, that's the whole reason for creating Spring Loaded and our tramp wall. And I would encourage anybody who wants to have a go with tramp wall, just get in touch, either, with me or Spring Loaded. Because we've finally got, amazing trampoline, a 5.5 meter high wall with windows that can travel and be set up anywhere. So, if anyone wants to get in touch, then just let me know and we'll work out where we can set it up. And
well, I got some ideas for you, that's for sure. I got some UK guys that want to try the stilts and they want to try the wall. And we're going to put the stilts on the walls and
Yeah.
boom, 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 over with the stilts. And I don't know, would you be able to do that? Like, is it too heavy to do wall trampoline with the stilts on? You think you just teeter forward and smash your face?
It's always been in my mind of doing that. So there will be definitely a video as soon as we are out of this lockdown. We're still in lockdown at the minute in the UK. Yeah, I'm going to try that. That's going to be great. We've done it before where we turn the trampoline lengthways and we have, as people are wall running or juggling, we have somersaulted the trampoline at the same time. So it's coordinating the stunts like that. It just looks amazing. The show is insane.
That is so cool. That, I was gonna say, like, what happens if you're doing wall tramp with the stilts, but then all of a sudden you kind of bail out and then realize, uh-oh, I can't land on my feet. Would you like puncture a hole through the trampoline, or would you fly off and break an ankle, or what would happen, you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they would certainly do some damage to the trampoline, or, I mean, the points are so small at the bottom, but I would just back bounce my way out of there and get off of that trampoline. That's what I would do.
That is so cool. So, okay, so let's say you have a really high wall or a high anything, really. How high can you jump and then land on these things before they break or you break?
Yeah, I mean, interesting, actually. We've not spoke about them breaking, because that is exactly like a tumble track, rod breaking, that spring down the back, that can snap. And that's why it's so important to get the right weight and also break in your stilts. If you get them brand new and you go and try and jump as hard as you can, they're not softened and they will just end up snapping. Yeah, so they are scary. And again, going back to what can be achieved on them, it's more, I know these things can be achieved, but do I trust that the rods won't snap when I go for it?
Yeah, really. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, you have no idea what's going to happen. If it's one
Yeah,
day
exactly.
or something.
So you've just you really got to just go for it, and
Maybe at least have a mat. But I feel like if they were to break, what would happen? Like, have you ever jumped on one and it broke while you were?
Yeah, completely. So the spring down the back absolutely just snaps in half. And then there's other places as well that break, and then we often have to change the hoofs because they sort of can start to wear away if you're doing a lot of especially on hot surfaces. When I've been out to the Middle East, I find the hoofs just wear away all the time, and then you start bouncing on metal, and that just doesn't go well. But we got, it's important to check your stilts. I've just got a set of stilt specific tools that I take with me to all jobs and check them all the time. I did a job once where I think I forgot my toolkit, and they were missing a quite important screw, and I managed to jam a pen lid into where that screw should be just to hold them in and get me through the job. And I mean, I was doing somersaults over cars on that job, and yeah, I mean, that was stupid looking back on it, but it worked, and I'm still here today. So
As long as it worked, as long as it worked, holy moly! Oh man, I remember one time on the show, we had a show, and it was, I don't know, third city or something like this, but you set up real quick. It's just go, go, go. You never really have the time to get it all done, especially if you're not like the main thing. It's always the last little problems that you never really think about. And when we level a trampoline, we'll put like little pieces of wood under some of the legs so that like it gets level, right? And then we didn't do that day because we're like, oh crap, we just got to go, go, go. And they're already starting the show. I'm like, crap, okay, well, I'm just gonna, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'll just adjust. I can bounce backwards a little bit so I can kind of do this sort of thing as I go, because I know it's gonna lead me forward, right? So I'm trying to do this. I end up going through the springs on the pre-bounces in the middle of the show in front of like everybody, like the whole stadium. And then the announcer, Bruce, really good guy, he was like, oh, let's give him another chance. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I go, I did the quint, and I was like, oh, thank God. And that was a great moment, because I was like, I'm gonna look like a complete moron if I don't recover from here, And that was, it's definitely a lot of adaptation, so it's the same for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, the amount of I don't have to be on a stage, but I could be at a pop-up festival which is on uneven ground, and doing somersaults it's always strange with the ground, especially if your 2 feet land on two completely uneven surfaces. I had a child run underneath me once, and I managed to somehow, and I never know how I did it, but managed to just mid somersault kind of move my body sideways and just miss this kid. And it was just, yeah, it's amazing what can happen under pressure, and what the human body can do, and what movement can be achieved.
I agree. I think everyone's, well, at least in the gymnastics world, most people have either been tumbled over or have tumbled over somebody else. I was that kid as well, running under people. I remember I was just going to the rope climbs, and all of a sudden just like this. And there's some big guy tumbling. He was like 18. I was like 7 at the time. And he would have just clobbered me. And I think the way he was going, because most people wait because they see the kids sort of just kind of hanging out in the danger zone. So they wait. He didn't wait. So I think he was trying to get me.
He wanted to get you, yeah.
He did, man. Because I was that kid, right? I was like going all over the place. I got kicked out of my first gym because I didn't stand in line for vaults and all that. And I was like the head gymnastics coach for Canada at the time. So that happened when I was like 6. And then I ended up training with him again many years later. So I don't think he remembers that was that kid, though.
you were that annoying kid, like, yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is, man. That's how it is. But okay, so I this question has popped up in my head. Can you jump on sand?
We have been doing this amazing string of jobs, which is for Longines show jumping event, so the horse riding show jumping. Now, I get employed there as a jockey on my Power Stilts, and our act is to go out into the arena, which is all on sand, and we will somersault over the course that the horses will later on be running over the show jumps. And I mean, our first gig with that was in New York, and to be honest, we didn't really know if it was going to work. We wanted the job, so we said, that'll be fine, that'll be easy. And I actually love tumbling on sand. On that type of sand anyway, is so good. It feels more like I'm on a sprung floor, because the sand sort of gives away a little bit, and I feel like it puts less pressure on my body, and I can just absolutely fly and feel fine doing it.
That makes sense. Okay, I could see that. Yeah, because it slows down that transition from bounce to go.
Yeah, and fully just felt like, why have I not done this before? And so, I have been training in different horse stables and arenas where that sort of nice sand exists. But, if you're at a beach, for example, there's so many different types of sand. If you go on the hard sand, that's fine and that will grip. But if you're on that really soft, that will sort of run through your fingers sand, you're getting stuck and not going very far.
And then you just fall over.
Yeah. Or more like you approach it at an angle and the sand will just keep going and that'll be landing.
Oh yeah, because you're already going this way. Yeah. I could see that. Have you ever landed on a rock and then like busted your ankle?
Oh, I don't know about what is brilliant about the stilts is they grip you in just underneath the knee and then your foot as well. So I've actually had a bust ankle in the past, and I've been sort of dreading going back and doing some performing. I think I had a whole string of a week's worth of shows, and I still had this bust ankle. But I found, because you've got so much support in there and you cannot pivot your feet. I know you can in some brands like Power Skips, but in mine, my feet are static. It was absolutely fine because the rest of the movement is happening with the rest of the body.
Huh. That makes a lot of sense. I never really thought about that.
Yeah. So that was a nice surprise that week. I thought I was going to go for a whole week of pain, but it was good.
That's pretty good. It's kind of like the same thing. I ended up doing like some flips and stuff, and I landed on the frame pad on my heel, and I busted the fat pad underneath there. And you think like, oh man, you're a trampoline guy, you busted your heel of your foot. But when I started jumping, because most of it's on the toes, I actually didn't really put much pressure on the heel itself. You never really jump on your heels.
Yeah.
So it was the same sort of thing, and I could train right through it, but it was all black and swollen for a couple weeks, but it didn't even really hurt.
And you look like a trooper as well, going in, just jumping with a black ankle, yeah.
Well, yeah, because I had barefoot. I always go barefoot. Do you have to wear shoes? Could you go barefoot with stilts?
No, I always wear shoes. I don't think anyone goes bare feet with them. I don't think the straps will do up tight enough to get around. The best sort of trainer that I find is the chunkier the trainer, the better. And literally, I think that's because it sort of, I feel like I'm strapped in tighter with my shoe.
It's like a sport, no, a snowboard bindings, and you just kind of, you're in. Once you're in the board, you're in the board.
Yeah, and so I used to have snowboard bindings on mine, but recently I've switched to Velcro, and it's so much comfier. It doesn't numb my toes, it doesn't cut off the circulation, to my toes. And so yeah, I've just gone for Velcro, and it kind of is it's comfier.
Comfier, okay. Is there padding on it, like spongy, or is it just hard?
No, literally it's just some Velcro, and that holds me in. I have done a couple of upgrades to my stilts. So this knee bar at the top, I think you can buy them as standard, and they are just literally a bar that goes around your knees and then held. You get strapped in with this tiny little strap that cuts into the back of your leg. So I'd tell anyone wanting to start jumping stilts, upgrade your knee bar to a nice soft pro cuff that actually fits around and clips in. So much nicer.
That makes a lot of sense. What if you just wore track pants? Would that give you a little bit of protection?
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes I do just have to wear trousers or trackies to train, because sometimes it is just nicer to have a bit more comfort. And knee pads as well. So the knee pads sort of pad out my knee, and again, in the same way as using the chunkier trainer that tightens up my feet, wearing a knee pad makes it even tighter around my leg, and that really, kind of fills up any gaps.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So you're locked in. You're ready to go.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, just out of curiosity, if you were to jump with an umbrella, have it closed, jump as high as you can, open it at the top.
I would love it. I would love to just float down like Mary Poppins style. Yeah, would be great. But I'm pretty sure the umbrella will go the other way.
You need some like heavy duty umbrella.
Maybe a parachute, that'd be good.
Oh, yeah, you could jump, you could have a kind of hold, and then you'd sort of jump and open up, right? Off a building or something.
Yeah.
That could be really, really cool. Yeah, there's all these sports now are starting to kind of mix and match, and sort of, you're doing now airbag jumping, which is like street diving, they're calling it. And you could do that with stilts. You could do that with trampolines and stilts if you don't land on your feet. And, you see all this crossover. If you could, what sport would you work with and do like a cool video collaboration with? Any sport in the world with the Power Stilts?
Well, I love the combination of adding in cars to shows. So doing somersaults over cars, handstands on top of cars. And I would love this sort of, get some stunt drivers or Formula One maybe, and just get a nice synchronized routine with the cars and them coming underneath and front somersaulting over. And yeah, it would be really cool.
Would you ever do it over like a bull, like a rampaging bull? Like,
well, yeah, funny enough, because doing the jumping jockeys in New York and Hong Kong, we've got to know some of the riders, and one of the riders, she said, next time you come out, I will let you front somersault over my horse. So stay tuned for that one.
Do you think you can make it? Like horses?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're big horses as well, because they're at the top of their game. If you heard that sound, that was my stilts falling over in the background there.
No, I don't. Oh, it's all good. But so how far can you go then? Like 4 horses? They used to jump over horses back in the day before they invented trampoline and everything. They'd run down like a ramp and kind of do like a beat board thing and jump over like elephants and horses and stuff. How many could you line up? And
how many horses could we jump? I don't know. I reckon 4 if they were all probably side by side. Maybe more. Because what I do really want to flip, I really want to flip, and I know that will happen soon, is 2 cars just parked side by side together and go flip over 2 cars. It's gonna be cool.
Could you get enough height to flip onto the car and then front flip off the car?
Yeah, it's interesting. I can get enough height to jump and stand on top. I've got, for one of my shows, a sort of top board of the car so it doesn't damage the car, which is quite nice. So we can definitely get enough height to jump on and land on to our feet. But yeah, could I add a somersault in there? Maybe.
Yeah,
I reckon it could be done. It could be done.
Powerful ones.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Now, what if you were able to like surf with it? So you have a big extra board, so you could theoretically like jump onto it from the land off a dock or something and land on like a surfboard. And like you could do, actually, here's an idea. Oh, this could be good, because you're saying that you can't stay still, right? But if you have a wakeboard and you're holding on, you would have that third point of balance with your feet. So you do a front flip on, quickly grab it or something like this, and then you could wakeboard on your stilts.
Yeah, nice. Or maybe there could be another wakeboard and you can jump between them. That would be cool. We did. I had a show out in Holland, trampoline wall, jumping stilts. There was loads in the show, but what was amazing is the set was 2 islands, and there would be this sort of stepping stone bridge between the 2 islands, and I would have to put on my stilts in the sort of the trampoline wall, the sort of housing of the tramp wall, and then run over these they would sink into the water, stepping stones on the stilts. And I don't know how, I mean, we did 2 months of this show, doing 3 shows a day. I don't know how I didn't fall into the water. It was the scariest part of the show, was doing that stepping stones, Takeshi's Castle run on the stilts, but it worked.
That is cool. It's like sinkers and floaters. There's an old show called MXC, Most Extreme Elimination Challenge, and they'd have is rocks, and they have to run across the rocks, like what you're saying. But some would be like actual, like just fake rocks that just look like they're floating, and then as soon as you step on them, you fall in the water, and it's on a chain underneath. And the other ones are actually strong. So the guess is which one actually works, Yeah,
I've seen it. It's great.
That'd be awesome. That would be really cool. But okay, so we've done a little bit of brainstorming, and we're going to get our guys to come and work with you a little bit on some of this stuff.
Tell me about your. So you said about a UK team.
Yeah, we have a UK team that does a lot of good content. We have several content teams around the world. We're basically teaming them up with different sports to basically, because everyone's so focused on doing quints, and we're saying, no, the trampoline, there's so much more you can do, guys. That's boring. It's old news. Once you've done one, what's next? And it's like, okay, so we can mix up with wakeboarding with trampoline, and X-Pogo with power stilting, and trapeze with some kind of aerial whatever neon stuff, and start changing these things and start collaborating different industries together. So we have a team that would definitely love to do something like that, if you would help them out and teach them a little bit.
Yeah, great. I've just started a new company which is all about acrobatic, circus, gymnastics and dance workshops, called Academy of Movement. And we really want to get everybody moving. So anyone that wants to try something out for the first time, or progress in some sort of movement, whether it is gymnastics or circus, jumping stilts, air track, tramp wall, we're there to give to the masses, and let everybody learn and get everybody moving. So just get in touch.
Yeah, definitely will. That's awesome, man. I really like your stories. It sounds like you have a really adventurous life, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm so lucky that I do just go on these adventures for a living. It is amazing. I'm so privileged to do that. And now's the time to give back, really, and let other people experience it.
That's awesome, man. So for all those young potential power stilters, what would be a piece of advice maybe to get them started that you would make sure that they should remember if they're going to start trying to, do what you're doing and work with the power stilts in some way? Is there any special advice that they should pay attention to?
Yeah, well, I suppose already, especially if you're going to want to learn flips on them, already have your flips on a trampoline or going off a trampette with ease, because when you put them on, it is a different ball game. Adding like you said, with the weight and the ankle weights, such a good idea for training the stilts. But definitely protect yourself. So wear a helmet. I used to wear wrist guards all the time so that if I did fall, I would be able to put my hands down without shattering my wrists. But yeah, just be safe with it, and there's no rush. Just do it when flip when you're comfortable. And if you can get into a gymnastics environment, then 100% do that, because it's so nice.
Yeah, I think that's great parting words. Thank you so much for basically giving us a bit of your experience and your journey. And I definitely learned a lot about Power Stilts. So I'm going to get on these as well with the guys. So we'll make a whole content creation thing, and we'll start really exploring what we can do with the stilts.
Absolutely, yeah. When are you next in the UK?
Oh, well,
I suppose it's hard to tell at the minute.
Yeah, it's tough right now. Everything's postponed until further notice. So
yeah.
We'll have to figure out. But we'll let you know. So thank you again for coming on the show and giving us a bit of your insider perspective on this whole new thing. I never even knew this thing actually existed, to be honest. Until I started.
How did you find out that they did exist?
Well, I was doing some research for awesome freestyle sports, and I was like, and it came up like top 15. I'm like, hey, that's cool. What's that?
Yeah, and we've settled on the name Power Stilts. That's what we're going for.
Power Stilting it is. Okay, we're going to do that. We're going to make a whole new generation of Power Stilters. Say that 5 times fast. All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show. And
thank you for having me. Thank you. It's been fun.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a few things. There's a big world out there worth exploring, and I'm happy to be able to bring these great experiences right to you through this podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast and learned something, please share and take a screen grab of our funky cartoons and hashtag GRT certified for a chance to win a shout out to our community. Also, please leave us a review to be part of helping this information get out into the industry. It's much appreciated. Along with these podcasts, we have a large online content hub that we call the GRT Network, with many other interviews and full tutorials and written content discussing everything about acrobatics. We will be constantly growing this archive of videos like a cross between Netflix and Wikipedia for anyone in the acrobatic industry. We also have a complete online educational program for athletes of all levels that provides a do-it-yourself pathway to success for any acrobat. Check out our constantly growing library of playlists that will teach you anything from tightening up your social media, to how to get around fear, to even learning all the biology that underlies all your acrobatic skills. We work very hard with our team around the world to provide this exclusive content for you, and appreciate any donations made to the FTA to help keep these episodes coming at you. And if you want all the content, become a GRT Network full member to get exclusive content before everyone else and access to special discounts and giveaways through our amazing global partners. Thanks guys, see you next episode.